I would say when we got really excited was when we kind of took it to those larger field trials and we started seeing like 80% estrus response. Like, just imagine if you go out in a group of cows before you're going to AI and all those patches are color and you're like, this is exciting. I would say that's probably when we definitely got the most excited.
Rachel Bonacker, thank you so much for being here and talking with us about the new 7 and 7 Sync.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You bet. We're glad to have you. So let's just jump right in. I know you're busy. This is going to be an informative video. So um, give us a little background on where the 7 and 7 Sync idea came from and how the research got started.
Yeah, so with 7 and 7 Sync, I mean, I actually remember the drive that Jordan Thomas and I were on where he kind of started talking about the idea. But really, in the line of work that we were in, we're always thinking of what improvements can be made in reproductive performance and reproductive management, and taking that back to this, the start of things, estrus synchronization. And so the 7-day co-sync plus cedar protocol, pretty industry standard, used, widely across the industry as far as postpartum beef cows. And when we started looking at that protocol, there is some variation in the proportion of cows that will respond appropriately and subsequently exhibit estrus in the time window that you want them to. And actually, the literature has evaluated that among cows with no prior synchronization, that there's about a 65% response rate to GnRH when you administer that at like a random stage of the cycle. So that kind of 2/3 number was something that we weren't satisfied with, and I don't really think anyone should be satisfied when they're using estrus synchronization. So the brainstorming was from there, and what can we do in a very like simple approach to maximize that response to GnRH and what improvements could be made there. But really, all the initial ideas came from Jordan Thomas. So got to give credit where credit's due there. I was just fortunate enough to be a part of it.
Sure, sure. Well, that's always good. So you maybe already kind of answered this, but when did you, the team, Jordan, when did you all start getting really excited about the 7 and 7? What, was there a moment, or was it all from the get-go?
I would say not straight away. So we did a pilot project on university herds where we were testing that hypothesis of prostaglandin administration with treatment of a cedar prior to GnRH administration, hoping that we could increase follicular size and that response to that first GnRH. So we had the 7-day co-sync plus cedar as our control, and then 4 treatments testing that hypothesis. And we were pretty extensive in our blood sampling for hormonal analysis and ultrasound scans to know what was on the ovaries at each time point. But it was a little win. But we saw in that small pilot project that with that prostaglandin administration and cedar treatment prior to GnRH, we could increase the average follicle size and increase the estradiol concentration. So we kind of had a glimmer that our hypothesis was right. But I would say when we got really excited was when we kind of took it to those larger field trials and we started seeing like 80% estrus response. Like, just imagine if you go out in a group of cows before you're going to AI and all those patches are color and you're like, this is exciting. I would say that's probably when we definitely got the most excited.
Yeah, yeah, and I bet the ranchers and the farmers are right along with you because, there's a $12 cedar that didn't get wasted, and there's another shot that didn't get wasted. So I bet they're excited right along with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Very visual
Yeah,
for everyone to see.
yeah, that's awesome. So, who is the 7 and 7 Sync for? Should it be more for commercial producers? Should it be more for the people selling bulls? Small herds, large herds. Is there a difference that it should be for, or is it for everybody?
I think it's for anyone that wants to make an improvement, right? I think the start of it is don't fix what's not broken. So if you're fine with where you're at in estrus synchronization and your management as far as your reproductive side, then I got to give you that. But if you want to try and make an improvement, I think that's where 7 and 7 Sync can come in, and be a change that you can make in your program and have good success with it. I don't think the size or the scale of your operation plays into it. Maybe if you're thinking about using some of those more expensive reproductive technologies like sex sorted semen or embryo transfer, this is something that can maybe kind of give you a little more reassurance in using those more expensive technologies and having a better success. But really, I think if you're wanting to make an improvement, this is a step that you could do.
Right, right. So we just strategically and specifically only do embryo transfer. So, we're looking at this. We've already used it in a couple herds, and we're just super excited about it. So, that is my next question. Where does ET, or where did ET fit into your specific studies with the 7 and 7 Sync?
Yeah, I'm really excited that ET did kind of make its way into the experiments, because uh, we were notorious for more of a AI side of things as far as the research that we do at the University of Missouri. But um, veterinarians from Cross Country Genetics in Westmoreland, Kansas, actually approached us. Dr. Gray, Dr. Briner, Dr. Anderson. They actually approached us at the university, wanting to do a research project with the goal of finding a synchronization protocol that would help their clients um, have more eligible recipient candidates on the day of embryo transfer. And we were kind of in the early stages of our research, but we were like, hey, we kind of have this protocol that could work. Do you guys want to try it? And they were on board. So that was our first big field trial with 7 and 7 Sync, was with those guys on about 1,300 recipient females, comparing it to the standard 7-day co-sync plus cedar protocol. And so we had varying ages and days postpartum and body condition scores in that pretty large group. And we had an 86% estrus response with the cows treated with 7 and 7 Sync. So that was definitely one of our thumbs up moments when we got that result. But overall, those cows that were on 7 and 7 Sync, a higher proportion of those expressed estrus and had a palpable CL on the day of embryo transfer. So really achieve their goal of wanting a larger pool of eligible candidates. And I think that's where 7 and 7 Sync finds its success in the embryo transfer side of things, is just having a larger number of recipients coming through the chute that can get those embryos and hopefully continue on into pregnancies.
Yeah. So I was thinking about this, and I was kind of thinking about how to really tell our clients about this. And I was thinking, it's not really that you're going to get a higher pregnancy rate, but it actually is. But it starts with the heats that you're getting, a higher expression of heats, right? I mean, that's where this 7 and 7 really helps.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to have that higher estrus response to then correlate to the higher pregnancy rate. So
Yeah.
it's kind of nice to see the two work together in this case.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we're seeing a lot of guys hearing a lot of questions about the sex semen, and this is something that's going to keep producing more and more into the embryo transfer industry, I think. And so what did you see specifically to the sex semen in your studies? Because I know that was part of it.
Yeah. So as far as like results that we saw with
Yeah. Yep.
yeah. So again, that higher estrus response, I think we were 82% on that. So we did another large field trial that looked at the 7-day co-sync plus cedar compared to our 7 and 7, and then we had sex sorted semen and conventional semen in that field trial. And so again, right off the bat, that higher estrus response in the 7 and 7 Sync, I think we were about 82% on that experiment. And then looking at conventional semen, higher pregnancy rate for those on 7 and 7 Sync, and also a higher pregnancy rate when using sex sorted semen. Still see that hit in pregnancy rate when you just compare conventional to sexed, but
Right.
the improvements with synchronizing with 7 and 7 Sync was significant.
Yeah. Okay. So from conventional semen AI to to sex semen AI to ET, I mean, you're talking throughout the whole thing, you're seeing an improvement from estrus on to pregnancy rate, just like you were hoping to see, like you were, when you were excited, that's what you were hoping to see, and you did, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the really exciting part with all the results that we've seen is just the consistency that we've seen across the board. I mean, and that was one of our concerns or complaints with the 7-day co-sync plus cedar was that there is some variation, using it from year to year or in scenario to scenario. And the fact that 7 and 7 sync continues to just be very consistent in how it does in a group of animals is probably the most exciting part, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. So two things I'm thinking about from maybe the perspective of the producer. Number one is, as a producer, maybe they think about, they have this picture in their head of a big fancy university facility where all the cows are in their nice, the climate controlled environment. That's not what happened here, right? I mean, you were in 11 different locations, something like that. Was that right?
Yeah, so that ET experiment was 13 locations
Wow.
across Kansas and Missouri. And then the AI experiment with the sex sorted semen was all over Missouri, and we were up in South Dakota. So definitely all over the place on, variations of sizes of operations and types of cows and all of that. So
Yeah.
definitely not, cookie cutter university.
Oh, no.
And even the university farms, there's some variation. So.
Right, absolutely. So the second question I was thinking from the producer perspective is the two biggest things they're dealing with is cost and time, right? So it's one extra time through the shoot, and it's another shot of estromate, lutolice, whatever they use. Um, some people would say, like I know in the interview you guys did on your YouTube channel with Brent Mason in South Dakota, he said, I wouldn't even worry about it. It takes long to gather our cattle than it does to get that done. Maybe that person that's, thinking the cost really bothers them, or the time that they have to put in for one more time through the shoot really bothers them. What do you have to say? I mean, you've said so much about the data, and I think that speaks for itself. Is there anything else you want to add to someone who's just a little skeptical because of that?
Yeah, no, and we get that for sure. And when we were thinking through the development of this protocol, we had those thoughts in mind because, I mean, rightfully so, in a producer's mindset of cost and extra handling. I would say that it comes down to each individual operation, right, and what their cost input and what their animal handling and what that looks like for them. Brent's comment of it takes longer to gather those cows. That middle trip through the chute where you're just giving GnRH, I mean, that's quick. Like that's
Yeah.
line them up, get them through. But I think that if each producer, each operation looks at what the profitability or the increased profitability they could have from an increased pregnancy rate, that's really where I think everyone kind of gets sold on the extra trip and the additional prostaglandin administration.
For sure.
If they can show that profitability from having more early born calves in their calving season, then it kind of works out, for them in the best way, I would say.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're excited about it. I mean, we've tried it on a couple herds and we've seen really good estrus response. So we're excited to see how these fall herds embryo pregnancy rates develop. So we're keeping in close touch with them, and we're going to keep in close touch with you guys. And just thank you so much for this time. And I just got to know what's next for the 7 and 7 or Missouri Research. I know you've kind of you're on a different line now. Maybe you're going to be Dr. Rachel Bonacker pretty soon. So congratulations on that. But
Yeah.
do you know what's next on the 7 and 7? More research, and then the same with the University of Missouri and that reproductive line. Is there anything else coming down the pipeline?
Yeah, so definitely continuing research with 7 and 7 sync. I think the goal is to have it work in just several situations. I mean, we've kind of already seen that come true with using it in embryo transfer and sex sorted semen, but I know the Jordan Thomas lab is working on 7 and 7 sync in Bos indicus and Bos indicus influenced females. So maybe trying to get a protocol that will help them make some improvements, because those are a different type of cows than some of the Bos tourists that we're working with. But I know that's on the board. I think just continuing to try it in different situations and see where the improvements can come in, and the Thomas lab in general, just keep improving reproductive management and physiology and performance in any way that they can.
Awesome. Yeah. No, that sounds like Jordan.
Yeah.
So, well, again, thank you for your time. How do people follow what the University of Missouri Repro is doing, Beef Repro? Where do they follow them? And we're going to link to all of those in anywhere we post this. So how do they get in touch with this more?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think if they're specifically interested in 7 and 7 Sync, we put out a really nice extension publication. So you can find that through our University of Missouri Extension website. Kind of breaks down the research that we've done so far and a lot of the things that we've talked about today. But as far as staying up to date with Mizzou Repro, I would say pick your favorite social media platform and give us a follow. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram are probably the most active, and we like to just keep those updated with, you know, the research that's going on or any results that we can share, and hopefully be able to, you know, continue to spread the word about 7 and 7 Sync. And I think, you know, you guys have seen some success with it, and there's no data to back it up, but everyone I talk to, if they've used it and they, you know, they're having a good success with it, they're going to continue to use it. And that's really what I think our goal is, and Jordan's goal. So I would also say that, you know, if there's anyone that has any questions, Jordan Thomas at the University of Missouri is a great resource to reach out to and get some questions answered if you have them.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we're going to link to all of that you just said in any video anywhere where you post this. So that'll be for anyone there. We're going to be excited about this, and there's already a buzz about it. I've talked to people who have heard from this person and this person about this 7 and 7 Sync. So I know it's going to be popular, but we're just going to see how it goes. We're going to ride this wave. So
Yeah.
thank you, Rachel Bonaker, for this time, and we hope to hear from you soon.
Yeah, thanks.
You bet.